Welcome. Today we are going to look at the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey. Who was he? Well, let's discover that. Anton LaVey, Anton LaVey, born Howard Stanton LaVey, April 11, 1930, died October 29, 1997, was an American writer, musician and Satanist. And what is a Satanist? We need to define it. A Satanism refers to a group of religious, ideological or philosophical beliefs based on Satan, particularly his worship or veneration, because of the ties to the historical Abrahamic religious figure, Satanism, as well as other religious, ideological or philosophical and so forth. He was the founder of the Church of Satan, a religious organization dedicated to the religion of Satanism as defined by Anton LaVey, founded in San Francisco in 1966 by LaVey. It is considered the oldest satanic religion in continual existence and, more importantly, the most influential. He authored several books including the Satanic Bible, the Satanic Witch, the Satanic Rituals, the Devil's Notebook and Satan Speaks. In addition, he released 3 albums including the Satanic Mass, Satan Takes a Holiday and Strange Music. He played a minor on-screen role and served as technical advisor for the 1975 film The Devil's Reign, and served as host and narrator in Nick Bogas's 1989 Mondo film Death Scenes. Historian of Satanism Gareth J. Medway described LaVey as a born showman, with anthropologist Jean Lafontaine describing him as a colourful figure of considerable personal magnetism. The academic scholars of Satanism Per Faxnell and Jesper Agard Peterson described LaVey as the most iconic figure in the satanic milieu. LaVey was labelled many things by journalists, religious detractors and Satanists alike, including the father of Satanism, the St. Paul of Satanism, the Black Pope and the evilest man in the world. Well, we always thought that was Aleister Crowley, because that's what the information says when we looked at Aleister Crowley. Early life. LaVey was born Howard Stanton LaVey on April 11, 1930 in Chicago, Illinois, USA, to Michael Joseph LaVey, 1903 to 1992, and Gertrude Augusta Nee Coltrane. His parents supported his musical interests as he tried a number of instruments. His favourites were keyboards such as the piano and accordion. Anton played piano in the Baptist church as a boy and played oboe in high school. That's a very expensive instrument. We heard that and we liked it and we thought, oh, we'll go buy one, see how much they are. Ooh, 500 New Zealand dollars. Don't think so. He attended Tamalpay High School in Mill Valley, California, USA until the age of 16. LaVey claimed he left high school at age 16 to join the Clyde Beatty Circus and later carnivals, first as a roustabout and cage boy in the act with the big cats, then as a musician playing the calliope. What is that? American musical instrument that produces sound by sending a gas, originally steam, or more recently compressed air through large whistles, originally locomotive whistles. Oh, okay. He played tunes such as Harlem Nocturne by Earl Hagen. Who was that guy? An American composer who created music for films and television. His best known TV themes included The Dick Van Dyke Show, I Spy That Girl and The Mod Squad. Oh, okay. So he wrote the theme to that. Interesting. Remember those programs? The Mod Squad, The Dick Van Dyke Show. LaVey had claimed to have seen that many of the same men attended both the bawdy Saturday night shows and the tent revival meetings on Sunday. So they were double-minded, right? Gathering of Christian worshippers in a tent erected specifically for revival meetings, evangelism and healing crusades. Tent revivals have had both local and national ministries. So during the week these people were doing all these bawdy things, worldly things, and then on Sundays we're preaching in these tents, which reinforced his increasingly cynical view of religion. In the foreword to the German language edition of the Satanic Bible, he cites this as the impetus to defy Christian religion as he knew it. He explains why churchgoers employ moral double standards. However, journalist Lawrence Wright investigated LaVey's background and found no evidence LaVey ever worked in a circus either as a musician or a cage boy. In the winter of 1948, LaVey began to work as an organist in bars, lounges and nightclubs. His genius on keyboards helped him attain gigs. He claimed to have had a brief affair with the then unknown Marilyn Monroe while playing organ in Los Angeles burlesque houses, stating that she was a dancer at the Mayan Theatre at the time in Los Angeles, California, a landmark former movie palace and current nightclub and music venue. At the time, he was met up with her. This was challenged by those who knew Monroe then, as well as the manager of the Mayan, Paul Valentine, who said she had never been one of his dancers, nor had the theatre ever been used as a burlesque house. According to his biography, LaVey moved back to San Francisco. LaVey met Carol Lansing in 1950, and they married the following year when Lansing was 15 years old. So how old was he then? Maybe he liked him younger or something. Not too sure. Okay, so if he was born in April 11th, 1930, maybe he was 16 or 17, not really sure. Doesn't really say here. According to his biography, LaVey moved back to San Francisco. LaVey met Carol Lansing in 1950 and they married the following year. So 20. He was 20 at the time. Yeah, he was 20 at the time and she was 15. Lansing gave birth to LaVey's first daughter at some point, Carla LaVey, born in 1952. In order to avoid the Korean War draft, he studied criminology at the City College of San Francisco. LaVey then attained a job as a photographer for the San Francisco Police Department, SFPD, where he worked for 3 years. Wright could find no evidence of LaVey being enrolled at the City College of San Francisco or working at this job either. LaVey claimed to have dabbled as a psychic investigator looking into 800 calls, referred to him by SFPD. Later biographers questioned whether LaVey ever worked with the SFPD, as there are no records substantiating the claim. During this period, LaVey was friends with a number of writers associated with Weird Tales magazine. That's a comic, isn't it? An old comic. American fantasy and horror fiction pulp magazine founded by J.C. Henneberger and J.M. Lansinger in late 1922. The first issue, dated March 1923, appeared on newsstands February 18, etc., etc. A picture of him with George Haas, Robert Barbour Johnson and Clark Ashton Smith. Influential American writer of fantasy, horror and science fiction stories and poetry, and an artist. Appears in Blanche Barton's biography, The Secret Life of a Satanist. LaVey and Carol divorced in 1960 after LaVey became involved with Diane Hegarty. an American religious leader who, along with longtime partner Anton LaVey, co-founded the Church of Satan. Hegarty and LaVey never married, but she was his companion for 24 years and mothered his second daughter, Zena Galatea Schreck, nee LaVey, born in 1963. At the end of their relationship, Hegarty sued for palimony. The division of financial assets and real property on the termination of a personal live-in relationship wherein the parties are not legally married. So she took him for whatever he had. Yeah, one of those things that they can do after a couple of years or 3 years in a relationship. They can take you for everything you got. Church of Satan, because you're considered your partner, right? Church of Satan. Anton LaVey became a local celebrity in San Francisco through his paranormal research and live performances as an organist, including playing the Wurlitzer, it's the old German style, Wurlitzer, organ, the Rudolf Wurlitzer. At the Lost Weekend Cocktail Lounge. He was also a publicly noticeable figure. He drove a coroner's van around town and he walked his pet black leopard named Zoltan. He attracted many San Francisco notables to his parties. Guests included Karen de Plessin, Michael Harner, Chester Arthur, Forrest J. Ackerman, Fritz Lieber, Cecil E. Nixon and Kenneth Anger. LaVey formed a group called the Order of the Trapezoid, which later evolved into the governing body of the Church of Satan. According to Faxnell and Peterson, the Church of Satan represented the first public, highly visible and long-lasting organization which propounded a coherent Satan discourse. LaVey began presenting Friday night's lectures on the occult and rituals. A member of this circle suggested that he had the basis for a new religion. According to LaVey himself, on Walpurgisnacht, an abbreviation of Saint Walpurgis Night, also known as Saint Walpurgis Eve and Walpurgisnacht, as the eve of the Christian feast day of Saint Walburga, or 8th century abbess in Francia, and celebrated on the night of 30 April and the day of 1st of May. Okay, there's heaps more history here. Later life and death. In 1980, the FBI interviewed LaVey in connection with an alleged plot to murder Ted Kennedy. Is that the father of the Kennedys? The prominent Kennedy family. Not too sure now. LaVey told the agents that most of the church's followers were fanatics, cultists and weirdos. The agents reported that LaVey's interest in the Church of Satan is strictly from a monetary point of view, and that he spent, or monetary point of view, and he spent most of his time furnishing interviews, writing material, and lately has become interested in photography. In July 1984, Hegarty issued a restraining order against LaVey, which he did not contest. LaVey's third and final companion was Blanche Barton. On November 1, 1993, Barton gave birth to Satan Xerxes Carnegie LaVey. Barton succeeded LaVey as the head of the church after his death and has since stepped down from that role and handed it to Magus Peter H. Gilmore. According to his family, Anton LaVey died on October 29, 1997 in St. Mary's Medical Center in San Francisco of pulmonary edema. However, his death certificate lists October 31, 1997. He was taken to St. Mary's, a Catholic hospital, because it was the closest available. A secret satanic funeral attended by invitation only was held in Colma, after which LaVey's body was cremated. He did not speak any last words because he was unconscious, but rumours later arose that he uttered the following: oh my, what have I done? There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong. This rumour was judged unfounded by Snopes. Well, apparently his daughter, he's got it here, on February 2nd, 1998, his estranged daughter Zena Schreck and her then husband Nicholas Schreck published a 9-page fact sheet in which they endorsed Wright's earlier allegations and claimed that many more LaVey stories about his life had been false. She also apparently said when he died, and it points out here that he was unconscious, so he couldn't say a word, that he did not say, oh Lord, I'm a sinner, or anything like that. I confess, and screamed out and said, oh, I saw this, I saw that, I know where I'm going, all that sort of stuff. Okay, it's all rubbish, apparently, according to it. He didn't say that. Right? He didn't say anything like, oh no, I've lived my life wrong, I'm going to hell. All that sort of stuff. It's a fabrication, right? According to the daughter. Thought. LaVey included reference to other esoteric and religious groups throughout his writings, claiming, for instance, that the Yazidis and Knights Templar were carriers of a satanic tradition that had been passed down to the 20th century. Yeah, this is not really liked. The Yazidis, or Yazidis, a Kurdish-speaking Indo-Gamis religious group indigenous to Kurdistan, a geographical region in Western Asia that includes parts of Iraq, Syria, Turkey and Iran, with small numbers living in Armenia and Georgia, the majority of Yazidi, etc. remaining somewhere around there. Yeah, read this before that. It's not well liked for different reasons. Scholar of Satanism Per Fexnauer believed that these references were deliberately tongue-in-cheek and ironic, but he noted that many Satanists who had read LaVey's writings had taken them to be literal historical claims about the past. Although he regularly derided older esotericists, LaVey also relied upon their work, for instance making use of John Dee's Enochian system in the Satanic Bible, an English mathematician, astronomer, teacher, etc. Fexnauer therefore believed that there was a tension in LaVey's thoughts between his desire to establish prestigious satanic predecessors and his desire to be seen as the founder of the first real satanic society. Dyrendal argued that LaVey partook in conspiracy culture as he grew older, for he was greatly concerned with modern society's impact on individual agency. LaVey was conservative in his attitude to law and order and insisted that the church abide by state law in all of its actions. He supported eugenics and believed that it would be a necessity in the future. LaVey hated rock and metal music with or without satanic lyrics and often expressed his distaste for it. That's kind of strange. Thought it'd be like promoting that. He couldn't stand it, right? Politics. Due to the neo-Nazi James H. Madol's opposition to Christianity, he sought new religious ideas and was attracted to emerging of fascism and Satanism that led to an alliance between LaVey and Madole. Black Sun by Nicholas Goodrich Clark states James Wagner, a former security echelon SE commander, recalls that relations between the NRP and the Church of Satan, founded in 1966, that's the National Renaissance Party, an American neo-Nazi group founded in 1949 by James H. Madol, and the Church of Satan, founded in 1966 by Anton LaVey, were cordial. Madol and LaVey frequently met at the NRP office and in the Warlock bookshop in New York. Reception and legacy. Historian of Satanism Gareth J. Medway describes LaVey as a born showman, and so forth. He goes on and on about him, and his books by him, and so forth. Films that he starred in, and references. Okay, so we're going to go have a look at this Satanic Bible, see what it's all about. Go and zoom it in so I can read it properly. Anton LaVey, called the Black Pope by many of his followers, Anton LaVey began the road to high priesthood of the Church of Satan when he was only 16 years old, and an organ player in a carnival, and it goes on about that. From that time early in his life, his path was clear. Finally, on the last night of April 1966, the most important festival of the believers in witchcraft, LaVey shaved his head in the tradition of ancient executioners and announced the formation of the Church of Satan. He had seen the need for a church that would recapture man's body and his carnal desires as objects of celebration, since Worship of fleshy things produces pleasure. He said there would then be a temple of glorious indulgence. Satanic Bible, Anton LaVey. And it's a dedication to introduction. Satanic Bible, introduction by Burton H. Wolfe. This is the original introduction used in the 1969 first edition through 1972. Introduction by Burton H. Wolfe. Introduction by Michael A. Aquino. Introduction by Burton H. Wolfe. Second introduction by Wolfe was used from 1976 through 2005. Introduction by Peter H. Gilmore. This introduction was used starting in 2005. Opening the Adamantine Gates, an introduction to the Satanic Bible by Magus Peter H. Gilmore. And it claims this book has the potential to change your life. And it did change his. It was a diabolical work written with elegance, earthiness and might, serving quite magically as a mirror. If you look within these pages and see yourself, if you find its principles to be those you have lived by as long as you can remember, if you feel the evocation of an overwhelming sense of homecoming, then you will have discovered that you are a part of a scattered meta-tribe, and the proper name for what you are is Satanist. He first encountered Anton LaVey through the Satanic Bible at the age of 13 when he was an avowed atheist. Not being partial to literature promoting faith of any sort, he was pleasantly surprised that this was no rant by someone claiming direct contact with Satan. Instead, he found a common sense, rational materialist philosophy along with theatrical ritual techniques meant as self-transformative psychodrama. Here was a tool perfectly suited to its nature as a means for getting the most out of life. He knew that atheist was no longer sufficient as a designation for himself. This book led him to meet and befriend LaVey, working with him to administer the church he created, and finally to succeed him as the second high priest of the Church of Satan. It is one of Anton LaVey's numerous talents that his written words are vivid, brimming with his distinct personality. His well-wrought phrases give the sense of encountering the man himself, and such an impression is not a delusion. And this person states, when his wife Peggy Nadramia and him met the Doctor, an affectionate moniker used by those close him, they agreed that he was exactly the man they had dared to expect from reading his books. Unlike the founders of other religions who claimed inspiration delivered through some supernatural entity, LaVey readily acknowledged that he used his own faculties to synthesize Satanism. He based it on both his understanding of the human animal acquired from life experience and the wisdom he gained from other advocates of materialism, pragmatism and individualism. His blasphemously named Church of Satan was consciously designed to be an adversary to existing spiritual belief systems. It was the first organization promulgating religious philosophy, championing Satan as a symbol of liberty and individualism. Concerning his role as founder, he said that if he didn't do it himself, someone else, perhaps less qualified, would have. His perceptive insights thus led him to give a proper name to a human type that has always been part of our species. LaVey was born in Chicago, goes on about that, and his musical abilities, and so forth. up until a guy succeeded him, a guy called Button, and so forth.